Welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast.
You just made the list! Oh no!
Brother Nero, I knew you'd come.
Not only does that mean that you're next, it means Brock Lesnar, you're last!
I need to talk to you real quick because the fact is, you're the one that calls me the coward, but you're the one that doesn't get in the WWE ring again.
Bada boom! Realest guys in the room, how you doing?
Wait! Hey! Austin! Austin's done the Donald!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. The wrestling podcast we review Raw and Smackdown and give all of you beautiful people our thoughts on what ended up happening with Goldberg and Lesnar. Yeah, that didn't last very long now, did it? We're going to be talking about that this week. My name, of course, is Turbo Tony, and contrary to belief, in the bed I can last longer than 1 minute and 26 seconds. Longer than that match did. Which, for some people, is an accomplishment, to even get that far. But no, I'm not pointing fingers, at anyone in particular. It's just the way it is. But I don't do this alone. I have someone who thankfully helps me get away from such awkward moments as that. But he is a man who he's actually in the news this week because he released a book about wrestling. And this book is called Fantastic Wrestlers and How to Book Them. It's Matt Marsander.
I don't think I'm quite qualified for this, but good. I like this.
Yeah. Now, obviously, a lot of people may say that you stole that from the Harry Potter world movie that came out, But we all know, Matt, that you would never stoop that low for any sort of plagiarism or anything like that,
I've not seen it. I don't care for it.
You don't care for it, no?
No, I don't. No.
I've seen it, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in the procrastination.
You're married to a Harry Potter fanatic, so...
Yes, of course. And, I am a fan myself, maybe not nearly onto the level as the wife, but, that's how it goes. How have you been doing this week, Matt? Are you surviving?
I'm getting by. I'm managing, yes.
For those who don't know, Matt's not feeling 100%. And as of yesterday, I sent you a message, Matt, saying, you might need to host because my throat feels very sore. So... miraculously,
all of a sudden, we're all falling down.
Yeah, that's it. I expect by the end of this podcast, Matt, both of us will just be completely spent and we won't be able to do any talking. That's it. We'll be completely done. So we're literally going into the limits of our health here for you this week. But alas, it should be a fun week. What we've got on the show this week, we have our news, which we're going to be covering some and recapping some of the things that we missed over the last couple of weeks, because obviously we did our award show last week because we were away, and we'll talk about that and stuff like that. Fan feedback over the last 2 weeks, which is basically doing a massive pickup show where we're picking up everything here. Raw review, Smackdown review. Matt, I tell you what, I wasn't even aware, but I think TLC is like this weekend or something like that, isn't it? Or is it next weekend?
This
I'm
weekend.
not sure. This weekend. So we might have to get up the listing for that and do some predictions after our reviews. And then, of course, we've got our douche nozzle of the week award, which I've picked out maybe a little bit of a shocking recipient of the weekly award, but still one that I think deserves it nonetheless. And so there's plenty about to talk this week. But first of all, before we get anywhere, we need to do our plugs. If you'd like to interact with us, the main way of doing so is our Facebook page, facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. There is a Twitter handle that you can contact us on, and that Twitter handle is the key, some might say, to the hidden world of Atlantis. And that Twitter handle is?
Apparently.
Yeah.
But at Talk Wrestle Pod would be the way to find out.
Yes. Apparently that's the place that you need to go for all the explorers to find hidden and lost cities. It's the new thing. So I would say, guys, you want to go and follow that straight away. Okay. And of course, you can send us any private messages or audio questions to Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast at gmail.com. plenty of ways to get in contact with us there. Before we get into our weekly wrestling, Matt, we have to talk about a little bit what we did last week, because we were together finally last week. It feels like ages since I was
going to say, you say finally, but it's like it's never happened before.
I know. But Matt, because I miss you so much, it feels like years pass. That's, that's the way it is, Well, I think the last time that I saw you was probably WrestleMania, wasn't it? WrestleMania? Or was it before then or after then?
It's got to be since then. I'm pretty sure you've been over with the rest of the family.
Oh, I don't know. It goes over my head, Matt. I don't know. It's to be honest, there's so many trips that go over there. I've
your birthday.
There you go. So you obviously. But you know what, Matt? It just feels like forever. That's the way it is. But for the reason that we went over was to see Orton Bridge live. We had a great time. Always good to go see Orton Bridge.
Drunks.
Oh yeah, what was it? The three very much over middle-aged guys in business suits acting like the biggest hippies in the planet, and
fucking handle their drink, dicks.
They could. And they almost abused one of the stewards, which got weird. That got weird quickly. So
he's trying to kiss her, like with the solo. Blackbird, get down, you fuck.
I know, right in the middle of Blackbird. Of any other song, come on. Not to say that me and Matt would sit by when something's getting a little bit out of hand, but luckily they saw their senses to a certain point. We actually thought that one of them got thrown out because at the end of the show there was only two left. Matt, I hadn't even thought about this. Maybe he went to the piss and just fucking passed out, and they only found him the next morning.
I can imagine that's probably the case.
Yeah, they were so wasted that is a feasible option of what happened there.
Yeah.
But we still had a great time. Still good laugh. And obviously talking a little bit earlier on there, Matt, you haven't seen it, but Fantastic Beasts. If you are a Harry Potter fan, guys, you should go see it. I enjoyed it a lot.
My other half wants to see it, but
yeah,
I think there's a lot of other films that I kind of want to see as a priority.
What ones have caught your attention?
Anything else? I have to. There's the film A Street Cat Named Bob, and I have to take the other half for it. It's her favorite story ever.
Oh, okay. I haven't even heard of that one, so that's news to me.
It's a man who's got kicked out from his family because drugs and all that lot, and he turns his life around because he befriends a cat. And my other half, that's a big deal for her.
That's literally like inspiration in an hour and a half right there.
That's
it. Very good, very good. I tell you what, Matt, for getting into the podcast, and like I said earlier on, we were feeling a little bit sick, so we need to pick me up. I'm armed this week with Pepsi, as usual. Normally drink Pepsi throughout the course of every podcast. Oh, nice.
I have... variety.
Of the Max variety, okay.
I feel like your voice there's like, oh. Okay. I mean, it's not quite the same, but
it's not really fine. If you want the pussies version of Pepsi, go ahead, Matt, if you like. Yeah. I was actually going to say that sounds like the healthier version, but the very idea of Pepsi being healthy at any point just doesn't really.
No.
No. I fully admit that my full fat Pepsi is not good for my health, but there we are. It gets me through a podcast. I'm also armed with showing everyone a glimpse into my bad diet with Haribo Gold Bears for a bit of a sugar boost, and I have chocolate covered Pringles.
Whoa! You have what?
So. Over here, like you can get chocolate-covered Pringles. They're in Pringle shape. They're like biscuit, but they're covered in chocolate. They're awesome.
That sounds like the greatest and worst thing in equal measure.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like it does. It's not so much pop. You can't stop. It's like you have 5, and you're pretty much like, yeah, I'm not going to touch.
Is it because it's a combination of salt and chocolate?
Yeah, pretty much. No, I don't think they're salty or anything. What I would say is that it's a bit rich.
Okay.
Sometimes when you have something that's very rich in chocolate or something, it may not even be a lot of chocolate, but you have it and you're like, yeah, you know what? I've had my.
I'm good for the moment.
Yeah. I'm not even a big chocolate person, truth be told. So I'm more of the baked goods variety. Hence, me and my wife end up getting married. Baked goods are the way into. Exactly. That's exactly it. That is the pastry that binds the marriage right there. So good stuff on that front. Anything that you've been up to, Matt, apart from the England trip? I mean, I know that you the only days off you had were the England trips. So I imagine
we're picking you up from the airport and then going back to work.
Yeah.
No, I've not been up to much at all.
Yeah.
Just onto the grind. Retail near Christmas. Yeah.
Lovely. Have the dickheads started rolling in yet?
Oh, yeah.
Almost like the 1st of December rolls around, literally like a horde of zombies all come filtering in. Yeah. Christmas.
Gifts.
You just poke them back with a rake. Go away, foul beasts. Very good.
Oh, actually, one thing I did yesterday. Now, I'm not a fan of it. I haven't seen any of it. My mate keeps trying to force the comics onto me, but I've never seen or anything regarding The Walking Dead.
Okay, yeah.
There was a game released on Kickstarter, like a tabletop game, that's Walking Dead, and it's very good.
Oh, is it like a role-play game, or is it just...
No, it's you each play a survivor, and then you take turns to control the walkers, but it's quite an interesting game where you can just like work together or just intentionally dick people over.
That sounds like fun. I might have to have a look into that. It's like they released like a Gears of War board game that I wanted for ages, but it was like £60. I was like, whoa, that's for someone that lives far away from the rest of their friends, that probably wouldn't have been the wisest of investment.
It would just sat there, just like, oh.
Yeah. So maybe not so much, but I'm interested in that now. That should be good. When it comes to the series of The Walking Dead, I watched like the first 3 seasons, and then it started to form into a little bit of a pattern, and then I just I couldn't get back into.
Yeah, my mate's trying to force the he's got like the big collection of the comics that he's trying to force on me.
Yeah, I heard the comics are good, but I've never seen them myself. But there we are. It's one of those things that I like because I've watched the show now. I fear that it's probably ruined the comics for me or anything along those lines. But
so I could probably start on the comics and I'll be all right.
Yeah. All right then, Matt. Let's get into our wrestling talk then this week. I think our first stop here on the news. Our news pretty much is just recapping of things that have happened. But the Goldberg Lesnar stuff. Now this happened a while back. This actually happened just after our episode 150, but of course, with us doing the award show and everything, we didn't cover any of that stuff. So I think we need to talk about it because this is a big thing. So the big hyped Goldberg and Lesnar match at Survivor Series ended in a minute 26, I believe. I might have got the seconds wrong, but really, are you going to kill me for that?
I think it was 50 something.
I thought it was a minute 26. I don't know, but it was less than 2 minutes at the very least, you know? Which still tells the story in of itself. 2 spears, jackhammer, bish bash bosh, Goldberg wins, and it's over. So this has been a massive talking point, and I imagine that I think it's divided a lot of fans. Some fans are very defensive. They're saying that they liked the match. It was, shocking for them and it got them talking. Other people are like, I watched through 3 hours to get to this and then it ended up being over. So
yeah, quick. And that's what we got.
Yeah. And it's very interesting because you may have people with very contradictory thoughts on how to book wrestling or what they enjoy in wrestling, come up with what contradicts them on that front. Maybe almost myself, because I have to say right now that I thought that the match and the way it ended was actually pretty cool. I know that may shock people. It shocked myself because if you had told me going into it, what do you feel about Goldberg squashing Brock Lesnar? I would have been like, oh, no, you can't be doing that now. That would be awful. But actually seeing it play out, I don't know, Matt. Like, I know some of the problems here. I know that maybe, this shits over some of the people that Lesnar's just trounced over and stuff like this and stuff like that.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, where do you fall? Because, Matt, I tell you what, funny enough, over all this time, we haven't
discussed this, no. Yeah. I don't mind it. I quite like it. In fact, it reminds me very much of You remember Lesnar's return where he just demolished Cena?
Well, he did lose that match, though, but go on, yeah.
No. I'm on about 16 suplexes.
Oh, yeah, SummerSlam. Fair enough. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Where at that point, Cena was top dog. The biggest dog in the yard and all that lot. And it was the statement of, I don't care. I'm fucking Brock Lesnar. And if I want to ruin you, I will fucking ruin you. And if anything, I think it's actually quite good because it's just sort of like, oh, you think you're the biggest, baddest, thing around? Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And that's what it kind of reminds me of. And if anything, I like... Lesnar had to lose at some point. And yeah, I know some people will argue that it's like, oh, but they could have given the win to someone else as a big push. Who? Who could it possibly have been? Nobody at the moment could believably defeat him.
Well, not without a hell of a story backing it up. No, not that instantaneous. No.
Well, it wouldn't even be an instantaneous win. It would be a long drawn, fought out, and if anything, it would have to be a cheat finish, or like who passed out first, like someone who has the endurance to actually withstand it. Goldberg has been brought in to basically just be. If anything, Goldberg was probably the most believable option to defeat Lesnar.
This kind of goes back a little bit to McMahon's thought track of like why having Brock beat Undertaker. It was because he was the believable option that would happen.
That's it. So I like it, and that's sort of my train of thought when it comes to it. Is who else could have done it? Look on the bright side. It could have been fucking Reigns, and everyone would have fucking shit on it.
That would have been an instant recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
My thoughts on this are, obviously, this isn't the last match they're going to have. I fully expect they'll wrestle again at WrestleMania, especially with the aftermath, and we'll talk about that a bit more in the Raw recap later on. But my thoughts on it is that, obviously, we heard the rumors about Goldberg apparently like tweaking his shoulder or something along those lines. But putting all that aside about why the match finished, the reason I like it is because, Matt, it brings up a lot of very interesting story elements that goes on from here. Because you could tell a story that Lesnar's been on a tear since beating The Undertaker. There's at some point, no matter how good you are, that you pay the price for liking the smell of your own shit.
Yeah.
Sports people do it. It's happened to all the greats, all of them. They've all paid the price for thinking they're all that and then some.
Yeah.
And people may say, well, what about Floyd Mayweather? He ended up being undefeated. Yeah, his price for smelling his own shit may be coming in the form of Conor McGregor, but it's along those lines because no one thinks of him as the greatest of all time because of how he went about his work. So he did end up. So there's a story you could do here that literally, and they did this a little bit on Raw, where they just overlooked Goldberg. They didn't give him his due. Goldberg hit him and damaged Lesnar. And then at that point, the match was over. It was just a matter of Goldberg putting him away.
Yeah.
Everyone has a mistake in them. Everyone has a flaw in them, no matter how unstoppable they are. And yeah, maybe the way that they could sell it on Lesnar's side is literally, out of 20 fights against Brock Lesnar, Goldberg may win 2 of them if he's lucky. He just managed to get that 2 out of 20 chance that night, and he hit his chance as soon as he got it, and he made it count. And one thing I have to say about this is that there's something a little bit different here. Like, maybe this is me. I thought that the Lesnar and Goldberg, and I said this before the match going in, that I said it felt different, Matt. I said there was a different tone with this towards anything else that WWE does. This felt like a fight, right? It had that big fight feel, which I know they like to parade around and stuff like this, even though the mega match marker was the thing they were trying to get over all that time. What happens sometimes in actual fights like this, I even point you forward to fights with two legitimate legends in the UFC, McGregor and Aldo. Matt, that fight lasted 13 seconds, right? McGregor hit a shot, it landed flush, Aldo goes down. Aldo's one of the all-time best fighters in the world. So is it so hard to believe that Goldberg, he hit his first shot and it was literally, he hit it flush, to the point that he busted Lesnar's ribs and he couldn't recover. Goldberg wasn't going to let up at that point. If they're going for that and they want to tell that type of story, then at least it's there for them to tell it if they want to go for a more emulation of sports. If they want to emulate that, that losses can happen randomly at times, especially to someone that's overlooking their opponent. So, I mean, I also understand people being upset with it because this is wrestling. A main event normally is the match that should give you the best match of the night. But in another way, I'm not as agreed with it as I guess most people are. And I look at it and I'm like, you know what? It was so surreal to see Lesnar get beaten like that. But I just hope that WWE can tell the story going out of it. And I will say this week with the Paul Heyman segment, I think that they did a great job of telling that story. And I'll go into that later on, obviously, in the Raw recap. So that's the way I look at it here. And I think a lot of the anger with this, Matt, has died down with the news that Goldberg and Lesnar will be in the Royal Rumble. Because now people are starting to see this isn't the final part of it here. There is a story going on here that's going to last a bit longer.
That's it. It's got to build from... It's got to... If they're going for the long term, like, I can see this kind of turning into like their next Mania story sort of thing. Like, this is going to go to Mania. And if anything, I reckon it's probably just going to be the fact that they just pretty much eliminate each other.
Yeah, at the Rumble, I firmly believe that they will eliminate each other, yeah. Or they'll end up hurting each other so much that it's just easy pickings for everyone else. Like a spear, their F5 here, they literally just kill each other. And then, but I believe that they end up eliminating each other and they brawl through the crowd. Like they can't be stopped. That's how I see it going. And, like I said, I didn't have too much of a problem with it, I have to say. Now, maybe some people wouldn't be as happy with this if they had I'm guessing the people that are not happy with it, I reckon the majority of them watched it live. For this match. I watched it after the fact because I just don't watch pay-per-views live anymore because of being in Europe. So maybe that had a bearing on it because I actually knew that the match wasn't very long before even watching it. So maybe, and I had the choice to skip through some stuff and whatever, but still, I don't know. And that leads us to our next story anyway. Just talking a little bit of something that happened this week, the 205 Live premiere, which had the Cruiserweight Championship title match, Brian Kendrick and Rich Swann. I just wanted to bring this up a little bit, Matt. I haven't actually seen 205 Live, and the reason being is for the reasons I've said earlier on in the show. It's like it's another hour that they expect me to watch, which I'm not going to. I have more than enough to watch as it is. But they did have a title change here. A big win for Rich Swann. He is the new Cruiserweight champion. He has taken the championship from Brian Kendrick. Now, I believe here, Rich Swann fans are going to hate me with this, Matt, because I believe he's leapfrogged a lot more entertaining and better wrestlers in the division. I'm talking about guys that I'm very high on, Cedric Alexander, Akira Tozawa, Jack Gallagher, who did make their Cruiserweight debuts on that show as well. So they're now finally in the fold, which is good.
Yeah, I saw that Gallagher was on it.
Yeah. So I'm glad about that because they were two guys who actually wrestled each other, by the way, Tozawa and Gallagher. And I was very, very impressed by the pair of them. The thing about this, though, is that Rich Swann, that's fine. I wouldn't like him to hold that belt for a while. To be honest, I don't like his gimmick. I don't like the whole of him dancing around and being the guy that wants to have a great time sort of thing. I hate that when Michael Cole introduces someone as, and this guy just loves having a great time and entertaining the universe. I'm like, I want competitors. I want people who want to win the championship not dancers. That's what I want. So instantly that makes me against him. He's a talented guy, of course, but
that means you're against Naomi.
She has she's different to Rich Swann. She's hot.
Okay, fair.
You expected some diatribe about why it's no, it literally just that, you know. That's but there we are. And Matt, she is a good competitor, on that front. But what I would say is that I'm interested, Matt, about Brian Kendrick. The reason being is I like the narrative they were running with this guy, that he was desperate to become champion to hold on to his job. But now he's lost it. WWE could kill him just instantly by not referencing the fact that was his gimmick. If they just go with, oh, yeah, Kendrick's just still going for the championship, that's just not going to cut it, not with how he's been portraying himself. They need to give him a storyline here where Stephanie McMahon goes to him and says, listen, if you don't win that championship soon, then there's a lot of young guys coming up. I just want to have room for you here, Yeah. Because otherwise, Matt, this whole thing makes no sense, does it? If he could stick around without being the champion, that pretty much makes his entire gimmick irrelevant and stupid on that front, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Especially considering that, he's already... But the trouble is, they've done it already where... That's, like you said, it'd be a bit difficult to just go and do that all over again with, better get that belt. You need the belt. Well, everyone should need the belt. Yeah. It's, the good thing about having the brand split is, I know you don't want to get rid of Brian Kendrick, but you can do the storyline that he actually does get fired from Raw because they need space for new stars or whatever. And then you could have him, at least for a little while at the very least. Then you might get you can almost do a heel version of the Heath Slater gimmick, where this guy is desperately just trying to get a contract by any means necessary, becomes more desperate and dangerous, so he could be getting these opportunities on SmackDown and on Raw to win back his job, and he could be losing them, getting more demented. But they have to do that. Otherwise, the whole Brian Kendrick character is dead. It's gone, and it makes no sense anymore. So I hope that they have something like that planned. If they obviously he was going to lose the championship eventually, Matt, but I was hoping that they would have a plan set in motion. Let's hope that they do. But we'll soon see as that goes on. To be fair, I was kind of hoping that it would actually be that, if it was to lose the belt, it would be for a reason rather than, oh, we need to have a match. Hey, better watch 205. Who knows what could happen? Look, we've even changed the belt already. Yeah, I feel like the title changed hands because it's a premiere of a new show. That's literally the only reason why. But like I said, Rich Swann fans, you might come at me. Fair enough. I expect you to defend one of your favorite wrestlers, but I don't think that he's on the top 5 list on who should be contending for that belt. Yeah, maybe it's because he's been NXT a bit longer, so they're counting on that lines. But you can't bring Swann to me and say he's got more star potential than a Cedric Alexander, because I don't see that. I don't see it at all. But still, each to their own. Let's talk a little bit more about NXT. They did a new batch of tapings. Mm-hmm. First of all, just the news coming out of today, yesterday, as you guys are listening to this, Shinsuke Nakamura has taken back his championship. He beat Samoa Joe in Osaka. So, spoiler alert on that front if you haven't seen it. I should have said that beforehand, but oh well. It's been making all the Come on. If you didn't, if you don't know, you don't know, but you really shouldn't have sort of taken it as, oh my God, really?
Oh my God, he won in Japan. Yeah, it was clearly going that way. So I don't know when that's airing on the network, but that was how that ended up anyway.
That could be worth a watch.
Yeah. But here's the thing. They did a batch of tapings, and there was a few interesting things coming out of it. First of all, we have a new announcer on the NXT announce booth, joining, Tom Phillips and Corey Graves. Now, this is interesting because we know all knew Graves was going to be leaving that booth eventually because his workload at the moment just seems very high for him. He's doing NXT, doing Raw, doing pay-per-views, Matt, as well, when they come up. And fucking we have a pay-per-view every fucking week.
Every other week.
Yeah. So who's this new guy? It's Percy Watson. Now, some of you may not remember who Percy Watson is. I don't blame you for not knowing who he is. Yeah. Not until I pointed him out to you, because I remember, for some reason, I remember who Percy Watson was. He was one of the guys that was, I think he was in the second season of the game show of NXT. So, in a sense, when you're talking NXT alumni, you don't get that much earlier than Percy Watson, really, which is weird on it. Darren Young, which was first season. I don't know if there's any more of the first group. Daniel Bryan, first group of NXT. I think Titus was second season, so there you are.
Titus was second season. Husky was second season.
Yeah. So actually, when you look at the game show, they got a lot of stars, at least out of the first couple of game show seasons. But
stars?
Bray, you called Bray Wyatt a star. Barrett. You know, Ryback became a fair enough star. Obviously, he's gone now, but
so is Barrett.
Yeah. But they got sufficient talent. They got sufficient, guys out of that. Yeah. Out of that group. But here's the thing. So Percy Watson, he was that guy who used to wear the glasses. He had a little bit of charisma to him. I remember him being liked. Okay, not. Obviously didn't blow anyone out of the water. So he came across as a bit green to me, obviously, with his in-ring work. But him here on the announce booth, and I'm like, okay. Well, I heard apparently Steve Corino, who is a much more established talker and announcer for other companies, is due to come in. So I don't know how much space is going to be for someone like Percy Watson when someone like that gets in. But you're looking at an announce booth currently with Graves and Phillips. They're already working main roster. And I've always said, Matt, that announce booth should also be a place where new announcers to the company cut their teeth before they move on to other stuff. So maybe it is time, as much as I would hate it, for Graves to move on. Not so much Tom Phillips, I don't really care what he does. But Graves, maybe it is his time.
Thanks for that.
He's going up to Smackdown, Matt, he's your fourth announcer.
A four-man booth.
I know. That's terrifying. By the way, Survivor Series, we didn't do a review of Survivor Series. That was the one scariest thing of Survivor Series. Not the 1.5 minute match or however long it was. It was the four-man booths all over the place. That was awful. But
and then just Cole appearing out of nowhere.
Yeah. But you know what? Let's see what Percy Watson's got. We didn't get to see much of his talking side. He hasn't been doing much on the indies since he went out of NXT. But let's see what he can do. Hopefully he'll be all right. He can't get much worse than Saxton or Otunga. So who knows? Maybe he could take one of their slots if he's got at very least if he can say anything genuine or just have any sort of emotion. He's got those two beat. So
the thing is, I hope he doesn't become old school Matt Striker.
What, just start pointing out loads of stats and separation and stuff
like that? And also, like, when I was a talent. Okay.
Oh, he can't really draw off his experience, not really, can he?
Yeah.
Especially how different NXT now is back to then. Jeez. It's hard to think nowadays, guys, that NXT was once thought of as a dead brand. So, after NXT Redemption, that went on for fucking forever and never seemed to end.
As bizarre as that seems, yeah.
Yeah. All right, then. So that's our news for this week. A few interesting bits to talk about there. Mostly recap and stuff like that. Anything else, obviously, we'll go through with what happened on our shows this week and stuff like that.
Oh, I have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the Authors of Pain botch?
No, go on.
I shared it to you. They had to stop the match.
What, did they hurt someone?
General homegrown, just talent, just nothing fancy, no actual signed team or anything. Mm. They took them, powerbombed one, and powerbombed the other on top. Now, I can only imagine it was meant to be, back to belly sort of thing.
Yeah.
One of them fucked up. I can't remember which one.
Oh, no. Okay, I can see where this is going already, yeah.
Forehead to back of head.
Oh.
They
That's
had to stop the match. Like, they genuinely stopped the match after that.
I don't know
happened.
how green those... I don't know how... obviously, they come off as still quite a bit green, those guys, but...
Yeah. I think that's why they're playing just generic muscle heel.
Yeah, for
because
now, yeah.
It's an easy green thing.
It doesn't require some wrestlers of the high quality as DIY, shall we say.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about a little bit with the tag division, because with the Revival going up, you've got Authors of Pain technically are the number one contenders. They should be after winning the Dusty Classic.
Yeah.
And they aren't ready for that. They're not ready for... Let's just say that match of the year, which we did give it last week, by the way, we're not going to get anything like that for a while.
No.
So that's a little bit of a shame looking on that, but that's just the way the chips fall. We had the same thing with the women's division after Bayley and Sasha did their
I
thing.
think the women's division in NXT still hasn't truly recovered.
No, I don't think the tag team division will recover for a while either. Even though we do have some good talent there, maybe more so than we did with the women when they all went up. But we'll see how it goes. Is there anything else, Matt? Anything else in the news?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okie dokie. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got plenty of fan questions to get through, because we had questions last week on our award show, which I hope you guys enjoyed, by the way. We had a lot of fun doing that. I'll tell you what, I've been eating gummy bears throughout the entirety of this podcast so far, and it's making my mouth just like caked in saliva. I can't fucking speak. I'm like...
The trouble I've got with that is like, especially eventually your jaw is just going to give out on you.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to get dry mouth towards the end of this and be almost dead. So let's hope that doesn't happen anyway. But we have 2 weeks worth of questions to get through, so we may as well get started. May as well get our teeth into these things. So Thomas Oliver says, what do we think about WWE trying to sabotage World of Sport? Now, I haven't heard anything about them trying to.
Yeah, it's the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, first I've heard about this, but I'm not saying that it's not true. It's just we haven't heard about it. I would believe, though, Matt, that WWE, they would not be happy with the British wrestling scene getting national coverage.
No.
You know, I was trying to get over how much of a bigger deal that would be if they did. I mean, sure, they're using some of the indies to get talent, but that British scene is still revenue for WWE and one of their
Ooh, actually, talking about British talent, have you heard one possible signing for next year?
Go on.
Ospreay.
I had heard about that, yeah. Oh, that was the news that came up today, wasn't it? Literally only a couple of hours ago.
Colour me intrigued.
Because he would be an interesting pickup for them, especially with all the things that he was doing, Ricochet and stuff like that.
Yeah, so. That's actually one thing. Like, if they're sort of a bit worried that having Sabre Jr., like, I'm not going to say that like Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay are on the same level.
Two very different wrestlers, aren't they?
They're two very different wrestlers, but you know, you've got one who has the potential to be as good.
Yeah. If anything, I would say that Ospreay's got a little bit more. Like, I think he would appeal a little bit more to the American audience than a Zack Sabre Jr. would, because I think with Sabre Jr., it's one of those things that he's like a very niche sort of wrestler, like the way he wrestles.
Well, plus his gimmick is I am the Brit.
Yeah, and we know foreigners, not on the main roster at very least, don't exactly get the rub of the green, shall we say. Maybe that's changed, I don't know, but still. You have to remember that WWE apparently funded, at least gave a hefty donation towards Donald Trump's campaign. So there is that. Let's not forget. But here's the thing about that. If they're trying to sabotage it, they have to get a little bit inventive here, because ITV are the ones that are picking them up. I very much doubt that Sky, who are the people that pick up WWE, with Sky Sports, they host WWE. Sky aren't happy with WWE at the moment. And I can say that without even talking to them, because what person in Sky at the higher-ups would be happy that WWE is going into business themselves and making a network that doesn't involve them?
Yeah.
Cutting off their pay-per-view buy rates through their service, So Sky aren't happy with WWE the way it is. So Sky, so if ITV want to do this, what's to stop them? WWE can't pick up all the talent that would go on this show. They just can't do it, you know.
As much as they'd like to.
As much as they like to, yeah. The only thing they could do, and they've done this before, is try and run a big show or an NXT show at the same night that this is supposed to air, and try and tempt the British fans away from it. Yeah. But like I said, I haven't heard about them doing this. But if I were WWE, I'd at least be a little bit worried about this, about the British scene getting national exposure. That is something very big for them. You know, that's a big deal.
I think it's kind of like a double-edged sword in that regard, because they're now almost raising awareness of the world of sport.
Well, by these rumors coming out or something.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I hadn't heard them before, but maybe,
no, I know. But if it comes out to being, you know, a legitimate claim, then it's WWE. Like it's why they won't mention. Because, you know, Daniel Bryan mentioned TNA on not Talking Smack, the State of the Universe, State of the WWE Universe. Now, he didn't get into trouble or anything like that for doing so, because WWE are under the impression that, well, it doesn't really matter, because those that watch that sort of thing are more die-hard fans of wrestling, so they'll know that TNA is a thing.
Yeah, they won't care as much. Yeah,
but they're not
going to lose viewers or anything like that.
Yeah, but they won't mention it on their actual TV.
Yeah,
because like their fan base is all, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Generic. It's a generic fan base.
Yeah. Generic.
So
the
mainstream maybe is maybe a better way. Mainstream fan base. That's the million.
Yeah. And they fear that they be the fickle ones. And they go, oh, there's something else.
Let's give it a go.
Let's go look at something else.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I don't like. I mean, it's really going off topic here, but I don't think they'd have signed AJ if he hadn't gone to New Japan.
No, because they had the opportunity to, and they didn't. So
because he went to New Japan, and they're more than happy to go. Yeah, New Japan. We can talk about those guys, but we're not going to mention the fact that he used to be in TNA.
Well, they had a massive aversion. Even in the podcast, they didn't even talk about it that much. They called it like that place in Nashville or something like that, didn't they? They had a massive aversion to it. It depends on what they think is going to be damaging towards their various markets. And they don't believe that they have a big enough share of the market in Japan to really care about, you know, losing fans to it. You know, they're still that's why they're sending NXT over there, because they have Japanese talent to headline shows.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the last time they went over, they had like Finn Balor, who's, you know, basically an adoptive son of the country, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to the British scene, they have live shows in England, right? They had NXT shows in England. That is probably the second biggest country, at least overseas, that they go to. I mean, they still go to they make live shows in Mexico. They go to Canada quite often. So you'd call Canada the second one. But I would say them going to Britain is really the only thing that makes them seem like a global company at the very least. So, you know, I think they're going to have an eye on it.
It's the only other place that they televise.
There you go. Yeah. It's the only place that they have to float over water to televise from. And I know they've done on a few occasions, like they did that one in Italy, which Santino Marella debuted on. But it was the last time they did anything like that, when they recorded one, you know, anywhere outside of Britain. I know they did Scotland, but really...
Glasgow recently. That doesn't really count.
It doesn't really count to me. No, it doesn't. So
you know...
Yeah.
Sorry to any Scottish people, but
if you get the same terrestrial channels, then it doesn't really count. That's the way I look at it. So, see, the difference is over here in Ireland, I get different terrestrial channels, so it's a little bit different, but still. Anyway, moving on. Kane St. Dennis asks if there is any matches that are universally considered bad, but we actually like them. I know there's a movie universally considered bad that we like, and it's called Ready to Rumble.
Don't insult Ready to Rumble.
You have to admit that
it
people think
not
it's
a bad
but they're
film.
wrong.
It's not a bad film.
Do you know the best thing about it? You can actually find the entire movie on YouTube. Yeah.
I know what I'm watching before bed.
Matt, I tell you what, one of the things we've said we were going to do it before. We need to do a commentary talking over that movie.
It'd just be us giggling and quoting it.
That literally, if that's all it is, then that's fine. I don't mind. We're live streaming. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? So, good stuff there. Anyway, matches that University considered bad that we actually like them. I thought of one immediately off the top of my head. And it's actually one that's almost like it's pointed at as being one of the reasons why WCW started mucking up their big run in, their big run in 97, 98, and then things started tapering off for them. And it's Starrcade 97, the match between Sting and Hulk Hogan. You talk to anyone. I'll even tell you right now, Matt, that match is horrible. It's awfully wrestled. It's slow. It never looks like it's really getting anywhere. The ending is so, it's disgusting. For some, I don't know why they did what they did. It's just such a. It's basically like a Vince Russo horror show, and he wasn't even in the company at that point, right? It's booking, it's overbooking the finish here, which is basically what they did. Basically, Matt. And for those that don't remember this match, they tried to play off the whole Bret Hart getting screwed thing at Survivor Series. Yeah. So Bret Hart was the special enforcer. He ended up counting the fall when it didn't look like that Hogan tapped out, and they didn't need to do it. Not for a Sting returning angle that took over a year to complete. That angle went over 12 months or something. They were patient enough, and just when it mattered, they just couldn't give him the clean win over Hogan. So it's an awful match. I'll hold my hands up and say it's awful. But Matt, whenever I think back on it, I don't know why, I just smile. I remember maybe being as a kid, I was so excited for it. The laser show with Sting and everything. I don't know. Maybe it's more the grandeur.
It's quite similar. When I get to mine, it's quite similar.
Okay, go on. What's yours?
It's Hogan again.
Okay.
It's Hogan and Michaels.
Oh, so it's SummerSlam. Yeah.
Just it's a bad match, and just made so much. It's a bad match, guys, straight away, because in the terms of a wrestling match, the overselling kind of killed it. But
yeah,
you can't help but just go, it's just fun.
It's just hilarious, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just the whole just bouncing and flopping, just Michael's bouncing and flopping all over the place, and just rolling out of the ring for just a simple shoulder tackle.
Yeah,
just love it.
What I like about it as well is that, because Hogan didn't know this was going down until it was happening. His facial expressions, right, all this, he's got no idea. Yeah, he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And Michaels, he hasn't got time to ask him, because Michaels is still bouncing between all the ropes going mental. It's like, yeah, that's a good pick. I like that one. That's a good one. But I want to go back and watch that match.
I know, right?
But I think fair play to Michael. So if Hogan's going to be a bit of a dickhead, then you make him look the fool, and you may not have made him look the fool straight away, but over the years people realise it, and yeah, that's brilliant. Racist Fan Rocks asks if we'd rather be in a wrestling match in front of a Japanese crowd or a Canadian crowd. Again, this is obviously coming off the shows in Toronto. There's not that much different from a Canadian crowd to an American crowd. It's just that WWE likes to brand them Bizarro Town for having the gall of cheering the people that entertain them, which more often than not end up being the heels.
Yeah.
Canada isn't Bizarro Town for booing Roman Reigns. The rest of America has been booing Roman Reigns. So let's not get over. Yeah. But WWE wants to try and sell that. That's the reason why. In terms of if I were to wrestle a match, I would definitely want to do it in front of a Western crowd. And the only reason for that is I understand why there's long silences in that Eastern audiences, because they're just soaking it all in.
Yeah.
They're respecting it. But for someone like me who's been brought up in that atmosphere and been watching Western matches pretty much my whole life, it would just unnerve me. And you've heard that as well from a lot of Western talent going over there for the first time. It takes a while to get used to. You almost see a little bit that you get a little bit self-conscious, thinking, do they actually like what I'm doing here? But you kind of won't know until the match is done and dusted, or something along those lines. So, what about you, Matt? Would you like the to wrestle in front of the Eastern or the Western crowd?
I'd say Western crowd for the exact same reason. To be fair,
yeah. I'm a self-conscious guy as it is. Matt, I would worry myself to death. I really would. I'd just be like, I don't know whether or not I'm stinking up the joint here or having a world-class match.
Yeah.
I think that would get to me. But I think that's more just because of what type of wrestling we grew up watching. I'm sure someone like MC Schwarbo, who clearly has had a lot of time watching the Eastern audiences, that would be an issue for someone like him, let's say, if he was to do it. So, talking about MC Schwarbo, do you like those segues right there? It's almost like I planned it.
Structured.
Yeah, exactly. He asks, how would we make the cruiserweight division work? Coming off our episode talking about all the different reasons why the cruiserweight division is failing. Okay, I'll tell you what, Matt. You take this first, because I've got a couple of reasons here. But how would you make this division get back off the ground? Start seeing flight again?
I don't know. And the trouble is, I'm kind of the worst person to comment, because other than the Cruiserweight Classic, I don't know, because I've not dealt with any of the.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe it was a bit dickish for me to ask for your opinion.
What do you think about this division that you haven't watched in the past 8 weeks?
Maybe I should take this one then, Matt. Yeah.
I don't know. I think if anything, it should probably just be clear defining characters. I think that's probably the most important part. And I think it's one thing that, just from what I've observed of what I have seen, to be some of the things lacking.
Yeah, I think one of the things...
A clear structure of, he is bad guy, he is good guy. And maybe to go back to what you were saying about Rich Swann, it's just like maybe not a guy who's just wants to have a dance and go, hey, we're going to have a good time, and just be a fighter. Just come on.
Yeah, I mean... Here's my issues with it, and I think that WWE are having a massive problem here. It's a clash of philosophies. They've got a massive problem here where they've got one foot in the philosophy of the CWC, which was clearly a one that worked. That philosophy in the CWC was fantastic. And they've got one step in their own philosophy on how to book a mainstream Raw show. And they don't mix. And they haven't separated them enough. They muddled it a little bit too. And I think one of the issues here is that WWE automatically assumed, with all the demand for a cruiserweight division, that it would automatically work, enough so that they had the option of toning down their cruiserweights in the ring. I think with the way that things have happened right now, that option's off the table. You need to tell them to start jacking that shit up. More crazy shit, because at the moment, the division has not blown anyone away so far. The multi-tag matches are an instant killer to any new division. I know it gives 6 different talent time, but it doesn't give them enough time to really show who or what they are. So it basically achieves nothing on that front. I'd much rather have a singles match between 2 guys and learn more about those 2 guys than having 6 guys out there and not learning a single thing about them.
Mm-hmm.
I would make it, Matt, that you'd have 2 cruiserweight matches each Raw. One of them in the middle of the show, because that's where the show starts to tank most of the time. 20 minutes of solid, high-octane action. None of this toning it down stuff, as I said before. And the other match can be more dedicated to storyline progression. So that could be a 5, 7, 8-minute match. Smaller, with more of a storyline thought track on where you're going to go with that. And you know what? If you really want to go with this, because I think the WWE have a problem here where they can't go full in on the sports aspect of the cruiserweight division, why not make it so you have it as a league? And if you win, if you win above someone, you take their rank, and it's something along those lines.
It sounds very Bound for Glory.
It does, but like,
was it
the
Bound
fact
for
is,
Glory?
they did a tournament for Bound for Glory. I think that
That's it.
Lines, yeah. But funny enough, Matt, that was when TNA was actually doing good. So you could say maybe they were onto something there. But that's part of the issue here that they've got, is that the cruiserweight division does not seem different enough, which is weird considering how different the CWC was. They just haven't been able to carry that across. And that is what the cruiserweights were brought in to do, is to be different and to give the fans something unique to watch. The problem is, especially with having maybe Brian Kendrick be the champion as quick as he was, that's the slower end of the cruiserweights right there. And then unique guys like the Akira Tozawas and the Jack Gallaghers and the other guys that I named beforehand, it's taken them time to come in. So it just seems like it's basically WWE with £50 taken off of their talent. And that's literally all it is. But these cruiserweights can be much more than that. And I think that's
almost like they just rushed it.
They did. I'll tell you what it is that there was clearly a different booking team with the CWC as there was on Raw. And it tells. Because they want to do the cruiserweight division exactly like how they do everything else. And changing the title cards, changing like the mat, it doesn't matter. All it means is you're changing the colors. The feeling still feels the same. And that's the issue there. And they have to get that out of their system. But I think that's a bigger task than maybe some would say, because you're getting a booking team to try and book a different part of their show different to the rest of the show, which they clearly have a favoritism for booking a certain style, because as much as Raw's been bad, they've stuck with doing it their way. I think that's something that they're not going to look into changing, which I think unfortunately will mean that this cruiserweight division doesn't improve anytime soon. So there we are. Alex from Wrestling Boom says he's been listening to us since February 2015. We actually got a lot of people saying good stuff about the podcast. This is more on our 150th episode. That's almost 2 years. The very idea. Oh, man, I even forgot to say, this is our third year anniversary show. Fucking hell, I forgot to start the show.
And I'm not having a beer.
I know. Well, I don't think our throats can handle that at the moment, but probably dead. That's cool. And you know what? What's really cool is that we got more messages. We got one here from Ben's Gaming, who says that we're his favorite guys from Europe to talk about wrestling, not counting What Culture. I don't take any offense to that. They have way more listeners than we do. Clearly,
that's fine. I'm a What Culture fan. So
yeah. But he's a wrestling fan from Hawaii. I'm like, cool. To be fair, I love it that we've got we have fans in Germany, we have fans in Hawaii. Well, we don't have tons of fans, but the very idea that you're all spread out and stuff, that's fucking awesome to us. If you're on the edge of the world, just let us know. Just say, I'm an LTW fan from blah 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 blah. Honestly, it'll make our day. The very idea that you've got someone that far away from us listening to us, I don't think you understand how much that makes my day hearing stuff like that. So that's really cool. On to more questions, though. Billy McGee asks, if we could book Baron Corbin as a face, how would we do it? So this one does apply to you, Matt, because you watch SmackDown. Do you think Baron Corbin as a face would work?
I don't like it. The trouble is, I've not really given it much thought, to be fair. I think it's because a lot of his gimmick screams heel. But I mean, I shouldn't really, pigeonhole someone like that. Because everything about Undertaker screams heel, yet I will bow at the very ground he walks on.
Hell, even head kicker Randy Orton screamed heel when people eventually got onto his bandwagon, didn't they?
Yeah.
And Austin as well. That's the biggest example of that, if there ever was one.
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Stone Cold ass kicker who was supposed to be the heel. The fans end up loving him for it. So there is precedence for someone, maybe the way that he goes over, to eventually the fans to go on his side. But how would you make him face? How would you do it?
I think the trouble... How would I do it? It's a tough one. How would I go about making him face? I think the only thing is currently, because he seems to be fighting alongside Miz. I mean, he did this week, but that's just through, hey, we've got 2 singles matches at TLC. Let's chuck them as a tag team.
Yeah, to make up the time. Yeah.
Yeah. As fucking always.
Yeah. Plus, it's SmackDown. The ghost of Teddy Long lives true. You know.
Yeah. But I think probably that there was a missed opportunity. I think if anything, if he went into a match with another heel and he had to deal with that other heel trying to be the boss.
Yeah, I get you.
I think the easiest way would be just for him to just go, fuck you, and just smack him. But it would have to be a real heel, someone who's like not The Miz or anything like that. Because I think if anyone turns around and smacks The Miz, people will cheer, but it won't really be the push in that direction.
I get you. It won't be the defining moment.
Yeah. I don't think Baron Corbin is the type of guy who will run out and save a guy from a beatdown. It would have to be his character at all. It's not his character, no. It would have to be that he makes a turn on someone partway through a match that then leads into something. But he's not the sort of person to stick in a tag team for long. So I wouldn't put him in a full-time heel tag team and turn on his partner or anything like that.
Yeah, it's almost one of those things that it has to be like almost like him and another heel cross paths just almost momentarily, and then that's how it happens. They're not even aligned to each other. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I don't think you need to change it that much because at times it comes across as a bit of an ass kicker, and I think people like ass kickers. We've seen that with Lesnar and Goldberg.
Yeah,
but I think there's a minefield a little bit here. Maybe not on SmackDown, but some people may think that, okay, so you go out and you make him attack a heel, which, fair enough, that does the job. But WWE have to be very picky about who they do it with, because you even called it up there. If they were to make him come out, and let's say he was on Raw, if he were to come out and attack Chris Jericho, for instance, who is a heel, right? Then he would get booed by the fans. See, that would just make him more of a heel because he's loved. Chris Jericho is loved by the fan base.
Yeah.
You almost have to pick someone.
Yeah, exactly. It would have to be like a proper heel because, to attack Jericho is just asking to get booed.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you have to make someone be utterly obnoxious to the point of almost you're waiting for someone to kick the shit out of him. So much so that when maybe he bumps into Corbin the wrong way or something happens with Corbin, you're going to cheer Corbin for kicking his ass. Not so much so that it's Corbin doing it, more so you want to see that heel get his ass kicked. And then by transference, you're like, but Baron Corbin was the one that delivered that to us. So now we like Baron Corbin. And that's how you kind of go about it. But you have to, it's almost more like, it's not so much how would you book Baron Corbin being a face, it's how would you book the heel that would
trigger the turn. Yeah,
that's the harder task on that front. But each their own on that one. I don't. You could even do it with someone like The Miz, I guess, but you'd have to have it so The Miz maybe gets a little bit more heat around it because I think he's simmered down a little bit. But there we are. But still, Dat Young Gaming God says he loves the new layout. He plays card games and his wallet feels it too. I know that sting as well. He's happy with the gimmick library. That first episode should be out in a couple of weeks. I'm aiming for a before Christmas release date for the first episode, so we'll see how that goes. He also said something to do more like LTPW. Maybe that was a typing error, or maybe I just don't know and I'm stupid. I don't even know what that is. Like, so you have to let me know. I'm not quite sure of that. But
let's talk professional wrestling.
Maybe. But his question is in regards to what is our favorite Survivor Series matches. He wanted 5 of our favorite Survivor Series matches. Sorry, we don't have time. We don't have time. I've got 2. That I've picked up here. So first of all, one of my more favorite Survivor Series matches came up very recently. maybe I didn't get it over at the time how much I enjoyed it, but I actually think the one that Sting debuted in and had the Authority being, taken away from Power, I actually think that match itself was fantastic. I think I was masterfully booked. And I enjoyed that from minute 1 to the final minute of that entire match. I thought it was very dramatic and very thematic, especially at the end with Sting coming in. So it really did feel like a big moment. So I'm going to give that's the 2014 match, if I'm not mistaken. WrestleMania 31, or maybe not. No, that would have been last year, 2015, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, 2015. So that was, my other one as well, Matt, maybe not so much for the storyline, because I know they ended up botching it, but I will say that I remember the fan responses to the Alliance versus the WWE Survivor Series match. The fans were into that match. No care what anyone says. I know that the storyline was booked, but the fans were popping big for that match. And I remember as a kid watching that thinking, oh my God, it's going crazy. I was like, how old was I? Probably like 13, 14 when I watched that match. So I wasn't old enough to know, they should have booked it differently. I didn't care at that point. I was like, all this shit. My balls hadn't dropped at that point either, so I was squealing. Yeah. So, I tell you what, though, Matt, as a rule, I guess you guys maybe have realized this by now, I enjoy Survivor Series matches much more when there's more on the line apart from bragging rights, because I believe that's a massive cop-out. Just put something on the line. I even said, Matt, leading up to Survivor Series this year, make it so the losing team gets someone drafted away to the winning brand. But they decide, Matt, as of this week, I have seen none of the repercussions from Raw losing that match. And I know I missed last week, but even if there was, and it was last week, you'd expect it maybe to be filtering out. No, there's really nothing there. Nothing about it. So, have you seen anything on Smackdown about them winning and it changing something?
No, not really.
There you are. In storyline, you may as well have known. If you're watching it now, you probably wouldn't even have known who had won that Survivor Series match. So I think that's underhands all the effort those guys put into that match when there's literally nothing on the line and there's no consequence of it. Whereas in those two matches I picked, man, you couldn't think of much bigger stuff on the line on that point. You had the Authority figures and then you had literally Alliance versus WWE. What about you, Matt? Is there any Survivor Series matches that comes to mind that you're thinking of?
As much as it annoyed me, I did quite enjoy Nexus versus WWE.
Oh, yeah. What? Oh, yeah, they did the... Was that at SummerSlam, though? Or did they end up doing...
It was a Survivor Series. I'm pretty sure it was Survivor Series.
I think... Anyway, that was a Survivor Series match, so you can still put it in. It's not what was your favourite Survivor Series, it was what was your favourite Survivor Series matches, so you can still count that if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably go with that. It sits quite strongly with me.
Everything bar John Cena kicking out of a DDT onto the concrete.
Well,
which, Jericho and Edge were very vocal about. They thought it was stupid, and even said that John Cena said afterwards, "Yeah, that was a bit stupid," and everyone else thought that's a bit stupid. Yeah, but there we are. Okay, so that's all of our questions this week. If you'd like to leave any questions or comments, you can do so in the comment section below, or on all of our social media stuff that's on the graphics or in the description as well. Before we get into our reviews, Matt, I'm going to eat another Gold Bear. Lovely. And pour out a Pepsi. It's like I'm dedicating just before we do our house show reviews into restocking for the show. So here we are. Bit of Pepsi. Lovely. What's your favourite colour Gold Bear, Matt, if you're going to have a Gold Bear?
Ooh. Probably the red one.
See, I thought red ones, but I just had a green one, and I thought they were lovely, the green one. I'm not just
now, if we're talking jelly babies, black jelly baby.
Actually, I'm not big into jelly babies. Don't like jelly babies that much.
Oh, man.
That's because I like eating bears, but not babies. So there we are. Yeah.
More tender.
I always thought that. Well, it's really weird. The first person that created a jelly baby and thought, I'm going to make a sweet that involves me eating a child.
Seems like a bit of an oversight.
It does a little bit, and everyone's just like, "Oh, it's fine. At least they're tasty." That's it, Matt. As long as you make it tasty, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I could make chocolate penises, and even the most heartiest of women-loving men would chomp on those like nobody's business. You know, Matt, you're not going to agree to that at all. I can tell.
Right.
I was trying to trap you. I was trying to get you, Matt, but you're too good. You're too good. You're too good on that front. All right, then. So I'll get my Raw review out of the way because mostly, obviously, with TLC being around the corner, this should really be more along your week to really tell us what's going on. So I'll talk about some of the more talking points of Raw. We're a week removed from Survivor Series, 8 days from Survivor Series. We're now building up towards the Royal Rumble and Roadblock, which is Raw's interim event before the big pay-per-view in January. So just for those wondering, I didn't catch all of last week's show, but I did watch the major talking points. So I still know roughly where all these storylines are going and along those lines. We are emanating from Charlotte, North Carolina, the home place of, funny enough, the women's champion Charlotte. So big deal going on there. And I will be talking more about hometowns and women's championships towards the end of the show. So we start off the show, Jericho's highlight reel. Kevin Owens is the guest. Kevin Owens rags on Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Matt, we've talked about how we dislike Black Friday, so we can't really defend it along those lines. Maybe he's stealing our shtick. Who knows? We don't know. They're doing this thing, of course, where they're saying, everything's better in Canada. We're Canadians, so we're better than you sort of thing. I'd love if they did the whole Bret Hart thing of, like sometimes what they'll do to stay heel, they'll go to Canada and say, I would love you, but this country's gone to hell and it's all because of you people, just to get that heel response. I love they did a Bret Hart and they just whenever they cross the border, they instantly face and they just change everything. They're like, we love Canada. We love you guys, because that's what Bret Hart would do. And he had that awesome thing that he would be the most hated heel in America, but the most beloved face in Canada. And it had this weird sort of dynamic going. But we haven't had that in so long. And me being a Bret Hart fan, that's one of my most fondest memories of Bret Hart, of him literally 1 week, Matt, being on Raw, getting fucking shit tossed at him from the crowd, because he's hated so much. The next week, it's literally, this week we're in Toronto, and he's literally being adored by the entire fans.
Yeah.
They're cheering him like a welcoming messiah. It's just, I'd love if they just capsulated that a little bit. Now, I will say, Matt, that they give thanks. Kevin Owens gives thanks to Chris Jericho. No romance has ever topped this relationship between Owens and Jericho in WWE history. It's even more bromantic than the actual love between Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. I'm actually quite sure at this point now that if Jericho proposed to Owens, they would get a bigger pop than Savage and Elizabeth did. Because this is real right here. This friendship, it brings a tear to my eye. It's something special, Jericho calls Rollins a stupid idiot because that's his new feud now. That's what Rollins is moving on to. He says that last week Sin Cara used the mask of Jericho and he put it on, man, and he interfered in the match. So actually it was Sin Cara who took off a Sin Cara mask, who had a mask of Jericho underneath that, but he was still Sin Cara. So
my head hurts.
Yeah, it's like a
My
Pandora's
head
box.
Actually hurts now.
I'd love, Matt, if there was interference every single week and they just use a Sin Cara mask to do it, just to fuck around with Sin Cara's head. So he has to convince everyone every week. I'm not actually interfering in people's matches, but everyone's just using a Sin Cara mask to block out
just
their
gets beat up.
Yeah.
Why'd you get involved? I didn't get involved.
I've been here all day. I don't have a match. I'm not even in my wrestling clothes here. Reigns comes out. He is soundly booed by the audience. And Matt, if there's a note I've made more in my notes at any point of us doing this podcast,
Reigns got booed.
Yeah, I don't think it exists. People bring it to my attention because I don't think it exists. Owens trips on his words a little bit. If there's one person that can recuperate from tripping on his words, it's Kevin Owens. Just awesome, especially Jericho, who rags on the crowd for laughing at him, says, well, English is his second language. People just don't remember that and stuff. I'm like, they're just so brilliant together. I love it. This eventually ends in, well, actually a bit of a awkward moment here because Jericho's about to put Reigns on the list and Owens tells him to shut up. I'm like, no, you can't. This bromance is literally one of the only good things on Raw nowadays. You can't end this here.
No.
Why? And the theme of this week's Raw show is their friendship over. And I was like, just don't even tease it. I don't think I can hack. You guys teasing. I can't take it.
How would you cope without?
Yeah, just can't. I can't do it. I thought this was a pretty weak opening. As soon as Reigns got in there, they did do a thing with, I'm going to have a match with you later on. If I beat you, I get a title match at Roadblock. Just a lot of rehearsed, corny lines coming out of Reigns' mouth. That's his issue. Everything that comes... He's almost got a bit of Byron Saxton to him, that whenever he talks, you never really feel like it's him talking, and that's a big problem right there. We're skipping through all this stuff that I don't feel like you need to talk about. So after we get an ad break from a R-Truth and Braun Strowman match, which carries out pretty much the you know where that's ending pretty quick. So basically, R-Truth is being eaten alive, and Sami Zayn comes in for the save, and by the save I mean sacrifices the beating for himself instead. So Mick Foley comes down and he stops the attack. He sends an army of referees to go in there and stop it. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because afterwards, they have like a mini interview where Byron Saxton interviews Foley. And Foley kind of blames Sami here. He says, look, at times he's a guy who needs to be saved from himself. And then Zayn's like, wait a minute. Glass houses needs to be saved from himself. You are Mick Foley, aren't you? Sort of thing, right? He kind of calls out the hypocrisy of it. And he's like, listen, yeah, Foley fires back and says, like, Stephanie basically hates you for not winning the IC title match. Your match against Strowman last week was your punishment, but it got so bad that I ended up having to stop that match as well. It was at this point, Matt, that Foley's bottom set of teeth fell out of his mouth. So
I saw the picture.
Yeah, very flattering. He still carried on like a champ, so fair play to him. And Zayn basically looks at him and says, look, you were a hero to me, but you're not a hero anymore. You're a guy in my way. You're taking away my opportunities, and you're a hypocrite. I actually really like this segment because, for one, it's got Zayn on a mic in a feud, and I'm like, that's good for me. Like, considering he was doing nothing for the last couple of months, him being in there, involved in the storyline, mouthing off to the authority figure, it could be a lot worse for Sami Zayn, shall we say. Yeah. And there's two ways that this could go out. They could do this that Zayn ends up... The only reason he was sticking around was because Mick Foley was there, and now he's becoming disillusioned with Foley being around. And you know who's snapping up new talent, Matt? You could have Daniel Bryan show up one week. Zayn, I noticed that your contract is running down. Do you want to... I know how good you are. And
I can make use of you.
Yeah. You had one chance at the IC title. Who's to say that if you came over, you wouldn't get another one, And you wouldn't have Mick Foley and Steph breathing down your neck to succeed. Now you could be free to open up your mind and do it your own way, And he decides, fair enough, I'm going to go to SmackDown. Or you can have him in a proper feud with Strowman, where, and let me sell this to you, you have Sami Zayn beat Braun Strowman. And the only reason I say this is that I've got a way that you could do this and have both men get over. So basically what you have is that you have everyone telling Sami Zayn he can't win against Braun Strowman, right? He's going to get beaten up. He's going to get victimized, brutalized, as all the ways that Paul Heyman likes to say. But you have Sami Zayn outthink Strowman. He out-wrestles him, beats him, right? Literally just from speed and having more experience and along those lines, using all the tools of his game to outperform Strowman and hand Strowman his first singles loss since the brand split happened, right?
Yeah.
You may be saying, well, that's going to kill
first
Strowman.
singles loss ever.
Yeah. You may say, Matt, wouldn't that kill off Strowman's momentum? No. And the reason being is because you could tell the story that Strowman, yes, he lost, but he understands why he lost. And therefore, he can become a better competitor. He can grow his game, right? And he can understand that, okay, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be able to barrel through whoever I do. But I'm not content with just being a monster. I'm going to be a monster who's quick. I'm going to be a monster who thinks on the fly. I'm going to be a monster who learns from my mistakes, and I never make them again. And therefore, you have the other match with them, right? You can do this on Raw, wherever, where Strowman wins by countering some of Sami Zayn's more trademarked offense, yeah? So it's like the evolution of Strowman. He gets better, right? He learns. And that way, Strowman wins the rivalry basically from winning 2 matches to 1, and he gets the last laugh. But Sami Zayn can always say, I handed Braun Strowman his first singles loss. And I think that would get both of these guys on the right track. It will give them a little bit going forward, you know? So I think that's the best way that you can have an even Steven kind of booking here, but actually have both guys coming out of it looking a little bit prettier, having an accomplishment each to carry off into different feuds, you know?
Yeah.
That way it's a bit of character development, not only for Zayn, but more importantly for what I think could be a star down the line in Braun Strowman. But we'll soon see how that goes. Cedric Alexander versus Tony Nese. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because apparently Alicia Fox is hot for Cedric Alexander. And the only reason I bring this up as well is because...
Or like a real thing?
No, in the storyline at very least. I don't know if it's a shoot. But all the way that she was giving Cedric the fuck me eyes through the screen. Because they did a little thing where they show her watching the screen backstage, right?
Right.
And she looked almost like, listen, this might come off a bit crass, but she was stroking her hair and giving the fuck me eyes to the screen. She may as well have been rubbing her vagina on the screen going, Cedric! So there's your awkward moment of the week here on the show. Nice wins here, and I'm like, with a really awkward pump handle bomb, by the way. And this is Cedric Alexander's hometown that he loses in. More about people losing in their hometown later, because that's going to be part of a little bit of a rant. Jericho is leaving the arena, which you would ask, okay, it's taken him a long time to grab his bag and leave because he's annoyed with Kevin Owens saying that they don't want to be friends anymore in another backstage segment earlier on. You know, like someone comes to interview him and he's just like, I don't want to talk about this, you know? I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, I don't want him to talk about breaking up with Kevin Owens. The way I feel about him breaking up with Kevin Owens is the way that I imagine most middle-aged women felt when Brangelina split up, you know? I just don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to compute it. It just can't happen. Jericho goes to get in his car, but his driver knocks over the list, which is punishable by death, of course. So,
of course,
before the guillotine can be put out, Rollins shows up, beats him up, and pedigrees him on the roof of a car. So I was like, wow, we don't get many backstage brawls nowadays. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. Like the idea of that. Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the WWE Women's Championship. Charlotte's plan all along was to get counted out so she doesn't actually have to defend her title, which she does successfully, but Foley comes out and says, we're going to restart the match later on in a Falls Count Anywhere match. He says also that this will be the final chapter to their rivalry. And considering what happened at the end of the night, this was probably the best joke of the entire night. Final chapter? Yes. Final chapter, Matt. Sarcasm. Anyway. Don't have to talk about that. Don't have to talk about that. Apart from the fact that they tried to go off the whole Titus O'Neil grabbing Mark Henry's hand. And oh my God sort of thing. So I did laugh at that little nod, but only because of the ridiculousness of what actually happened with him grabbing someone's arm. We're shown Cesaro and Sheamus having a drink together at the pub. They're celebrating the fact that they don't have to be teammates anymore. They lost their title match last week to the New Day, and they're not tied to the hip. They don't have to team with each other. They end up bickering once again, but they remember, you know, being the surviving team at Survivor Series. They remember some of the good times of being together. Then some random dude decides to pick a fight with Sheamus. Now, with all the smack I talk about Sheamus, I will admit right now, not in a million years would I go up to a guy that looks the way he does and go, you look like a fucking dweeb, you fucking mong. You big ham, yeah. I wouldn't do that, you know. I wouldn't also sell him Irish insurance, but only Matt would get that joke. So, but anyway, this guy does because he's in, obviously it's in the script for him to do so. Funny enough, in the main event, he was in the crowd. So even when you get beaten up by Sheamus in storyline, you can still make it to WWE for that show. So, you know, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, fucking great.
So
it's continuity.
That's
Love
continuity.
It.
You know, that's when. Listen, Matt. You know, he clearly loves WWE, but he just didn't like Sheamus, and he happened to be in the same pub. But and he understands it's a 3-hour show, so being there for those all 3 hours just doesn't sit right with him. So he's just having a quick drink, and happened to be some talent there. Yeah, I'm not going to make this make any sense, but anyway, let's carry on. Dare I say WWE is getting a bit creative this week because they have a full-on bar brawl. Cesaro and Sheamus, they end up teaming up to with each other to clear out the bar. And Sheamus is like, oh, thanks a lot for that. Would you like a beer? And he's like, yeah, fair enough. So now this seems like they finally come together. They came off like ass kickers here, which Matt, my whole deal is WWE needs more legit ass kickers. They came off like ass kickers here. And I'm like, 2 outside of the ring fights on 1 week of Raw. We barely got one of them in the entirety of this year before this point. So, cool. I approve. In the Attitude Era, we get fights backstage pretty much every 5 minutes. The one of the titles was actually centered around
every other APA segment.
Yeah, exactly right. The hardcore title itself was literally 95% backstage brawls. So,
yeah. Oh, I missed the 24-hour rule.
Well, if you want any more of that, you can just go on to Joey Ryan's page. He had like loads of videos for ages of like that.
Oh yeah,
belt, which was hilarious. Some of the title changes on there are brilliant.
Wasn't Vince McMahon the champion for a while?
I don't know. They had like a cat that was a champion.
I'm pretty sure they tapped on Vince's. I think like Joey was dicking around and he tapped. Like he hit 3, tapped 3 on Vince's star on the Walk of Fame.
Oh yeah, and Vince's star was the champion. Yeah, and then they had someone like pin the star to become the champion. Yeah, or what was one of the funnier ones where they brought in like a thing? And it was like, "Can you read this for me?" It's like, "I give up," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm the champion now." Thank you. He walks off with the belt. Brilliant stuff, fantastic. So I really like that, and I said before that. Yeah. I was like with Cesaro and Sheamus, I was like, I'm kind of over this whole reluctant team thing. If they're going to keep them as a tag team, which I guess that's really the only space for them at the roster, on this place at the moment, then they have to get rid of this whole reluctant teammates thing. Just let them just be proper, like be a proper team. And fair enough, if that's what they're doing now. I thought it was a pretty cool segment to be honest, to get them on the same page. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. This was a good match in the middle of the show, I will say. Owens attacks Reigns before the match begins. There was a good point here because, like I said, the match was good, and it was in the middle of the show where they needed a match like this of proper substance to kind of fill out where things start going a bit slow. Yeah. Reigns picks up the victory, earns himself a title shot. For those a little bit more following what's going on in the house shows, Owens and Reigns have been wrestling each other for a while, so they've been setting up for this rivalry. So we knew it was coming. The idea of having Roman Reigns as a double champion, however, does make me feel quite nauseous. So I'm not very happy with that. Then we're shown the awesome interview with Paul Heyman. I was alluding to this a little bit earlier on about literally talking only about Brock Lesnar's loss to Goldberg. Now, Heyman here, he's red-eyed. He looks like he hasn't shaved since that loss. He's got a little bit of a stubble going on. Looks like he hasn't slept right since then. It looks like he's suffering a hangover, right? It looks like it's been absolutely devastating for him. He hasn't been able to process it correctly. He explains that, that literally they fucked up. They overlooked Goldberg. They thought he was a relic, and it was nothing more. One spear in, Brock broke his ribs, and then it was over. And he goes on to say that Brock understands how humiliating, how embarrassing the loss was, that now it's a part of his legacy that he lost in such convincing fashion. But what scares Heyman now is that Brock Lesnar's out to prove a point. And if Lesnar's been doing all this damage, kind of been strutting around, what is he going to do when he feels like now he has to kill people to get people back on board, And he's going to do that at the Royal Rumble. He says there will be 28 losers, 1 victim, and 1 winner, and that victim will be Goldberg. As I said earlier on, Matt, this is leading to a WrestleMania match, but this segment was brilliant. I said if there was a story to tell, it was this story, and I'm glad they're doing it this way. And that's cool. I like it. The Royal Rumble itself is going to be pretty. I already know how it's going to end up. Goldberg's going to come out first. Maybe midway through the Royal Rumble match, he's going to clear the field. There's going to be no one left. He's going to clear out 1 or 2 more guys, look just completely dominant. And just when he's getting ready to face the next guy, that's when Lesnar's music hits. Yeah. And then all hell breaks loose. You know what I mean? That's how I expect it to go.
Yeah, that's it. Like Goldberg comes out in number 5, Lesnar comes out at like number 18 or something.
Yeah. Goldberg's dominant until Lesnar comes out, and then all bets are off and they're killing each other. That's how I see it going. The New Day versus the Club for the Tag Team Championships. I won't say much about this. Yeah. The very idea of the Club. As soon as I say that now, I'm just like, ugh. Winners of the worst booked act of the year award last week. So you've got that there. And worst segment as well. So not a great year for the Club. No. Xavier Woods basically single-handedly wins this. He just takes a bunch of hits. He's a resilient little fucker, kicking out of everything. They call him the kick-out king at the end of this, actually, because he just kicks out of everything. And then he rolls up Carl Anderson, pulls the tights, because they've been cheating a lot to keep their thing alive, their run alive. And, they keep the championships. Apparently, it's like 17 days now until they beat that record. So that's what they're going for, and they will win that record. That there's no other way around it. They will win it. Talking point on Raw this week: Sasha versus Charlotte for the Women's Championship in a Falls Count Anywhere match. First of all, I've got a few things to get through on this and the aftermath of this. First of all, the fact that this was the main event of Raw again and it wasn't paraded by commentary was received quite well by me. They weren't being overly obnoxious with the whole thing, the whole marketing agenda of we're breaking ground, blah, 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 blah. They just let it stand by itself, which is what I've always asked for. Secondly, the match is good. The women have done nothing wrong in this feud. Sasha and Charlotte, they've wrestled some good matches, and they have done their part. With what they've been tasked to do, they've done to the best of their ability, and I've got no problem with them. However, this entire feud has been booked horrendously, awfully, so badly this has been booked. And the reason being here is because Sasha wins the championship here. So in one feud, Matt, the title has changed 5 times. Mm-hmm. That's just in one feud. Yeah.
5 times?
Yes. So Charlotte was the champion. She lost it on Raw, the first Raw of the brand split. So that was change 1. Sasha then won it. Then Charlotte won it back at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Remember? That was the second title change. Sasha then won it on a Raw. That was the third. Charlotte then won it at Hell in a Cell, in that Hell in a Cell match. That was the 4th, and then this title change makes 5.
Sasha's already a 3-time women's champion.
A 3-time women's champion. It's barely been 4 months since she won the first one. What the fuck is going on here? You shared a stat to me, man, which I thought was alarming, that they've wrestled something like 150 times in 4 years. Whereas Randy Orton and John Cena have wrestled 250 times in 15 years or something like that.
Something like that. And we used to complain enough that Cena and Orton were wrestling each other too much.
Yeah. And what's good...
In hindsight, that seems like a really dumb thing to have done.
Yeah. Like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If we're going to moan about that happening for the men, we have to moan about it for the women. And I'm not saying we have to. I'm going to because I think it's fucking stupid. The very idea that now, remember I was laughing about it being the final chapter beforehand. Sorry, Charlotte has another rematch. They're going to wrestle each other again.
At Roadblock, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's probably where it will be. I had resigned to the fact that, okay, Charlotte won it back at the pay-per-view. I think it was stupid because it was done in Boston. Therefore, Sasha didn't get that big hometown victory. A nice moment for her. And I'll get to the hometown bit in a little bit, because that's another part of the rant here. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Maybe you're going to run with this whole idea of her being a non-stop pay-per-view win machine. She goes into WrestleMania against Bayley, and Bayley is the one who beats her, right? Big face response at WrestleMania. The streak is broken. New women's champion. The whole fucking shebang. Brilliant, right? It writes itself, okay? But now they've gone with the other idea of, oh, yeah, we did actually want Sasha all along. So now Sasha's the champion again on Raw. Yeah. Her third title win on Raw this year. And this fucking feud has swallowed the Raw's women division. Oh, God, I'm getting it wrong. Raw's women's division. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
It swallowed it whole, and now all it seems to be is Charlotte and Sasha. I love both of these girls, Matt. You know I do. You know how much I value the worth and how good they are in the ring. But too much of a good thing is always bad.
Yeah.
I don't know why they thought it was okay to book this rivalry in this fashion. It's so repetitive now. It's gone beyond a joke at this point. I've already heard numerous people say, well, at the pay-per-view, Charlotte's going to be retaining the title. You know, she's going to win it back. And then the Raw afterwards, Matt, you know who's winning it back. I can't exactly blame them. It's happened 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't understand. And I tell you what this is. This is them. Either they just don't know what they want to do with the plan, so they're going backwards and forwards, or they genuinely think that this is increasing the value of the championship. No, it's not. No, it's not. Playing hot potato with a belt never increases the value of a championship. It never does.
No, it doesn't. It hinders.
The NXT Championship at the moment is having a little bit of a case of hot potato, where it hopped onto Shinsuke Nakamura, then the takeover straight afterwards loses to Samoa Joe, then 2 weeks after that it goes back to Nakamura. I love those guys, but even that's damaging. That's only 2 title changes. This is 5 title changes. 5! I can't wrap my head around it, Matt. 5 title changes. What the fuck, man? They have wrestled each other to death at this point. These 2 women, I'd be shocked if they even want to look at each other anymore. They've been around each other too much. This is, oh my goodness. Let me get started on the hometown talent losing. Since when has this become a trend? That all hometown talent loses all of a sudden? Sasha loses in Boston. Charlotte loses in Charlotte. Fucking Cedric Alexander in the same week lost it in his hometown. I thought that WWE were in the business of entertaining, right? What's their line they use? Putting smiles on people's faces, right? That's what they always say. Big Show was always famous for saying that line. We're in the business of putting smiles on people's faces.
Yeah.
Well, you've got precedent for how well having a hometown guy can win in their hometown. I could give you Exhibit A, CM Punk in Chicago. I will remember that moment for the rest of my life. Now, I'm not saying that Sasha Banks winning in Boston or Charlotte winning in Charlotte would have the same response, but it would be special. It would have a big response from the crowd, especially Sasha in Boston. Absolutely, if she had won, yeah? And if they hadn't done this hot potato thing, they could have had Sasha win her first championship in Hell in a Cell in Boston if they just held out that fucking long. But they chose to play this whole backwards and forwards deal going on. I just don't understand. I think it's counterproductive. I'm not saying that being in your hometown should automatically give you a victory, but it seems like it's become a trend that everyone loses in their hometown now. It should be the other way. It should be the other way around. In the sports, Matt, the home crowd advantage is a big deal. That's the reason why teams would more than often value points away from home, because they're harder to get than the ones you get at home. You know? Because you've got the crowd behind you. I just don't understand. What's even weirder about this is that Ric Flair comes out at the end of this match and he raises up Sasha's hand in victory. That's fair. I've got a problem with Flair doing that.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense considering he got banished by Charlotte.
Exactly, right? So in his mind, fair enough. Okay. But Sasha Banks, would she really accept that? And the reason being that I'm talking about the character of Sasha Banks. I know here on this show earlier on in a conversation with Bailey, she was like, I'm going to dedicate the victory to Ric Flair because of all the things that happened bad to him from Charlotte. I remember Sasha Banks at NXT. Sasha Banks at NXT would not give two shits about this. In fact, she would remember all the matches Ric Flair cost her this year. Not only the matches that she cost her, the WrestleMania match that she cost her. You know, that Ric Flair cost her. Right? Yeah. That wasn't that long ago. And I'm like, I should be cheering. I should be enjoying this. But it's been booked so fucking poorly with no patience and no actual thought that now you've got people coming out trying to defend the feud when the fans' general consensus on the feud is it's fucking stupid now. That it's just been going on too long. They've passed the belt backwards and forwards. They need to get far away from each other now, Sasha and Charlotte. They need to get far. They shouldn't wrestle each other again until 2 WrestleManias down the line. It's getting ridiculous. I know that they want to make this seem like the summer of women's wrestling, the summer or the autumn, whatever, how long this has gone on now, of Sasha versus Charlotte. But they have just killed it with having them wrestle so often and changing the championship just so repetitively. So there's my rant anyway on it. And I think that anyone trying to defend it should really look at the general consensus and stop trying to push that it's something groundbreaking when really fans are looking at it and looking at it the same way I am, which are going, what the fuck's going on here? Like, this is... It's just dumb. I don't know. Anyway, my overall, apart from that, at the end, it was a good match, by the way. They did wrestle quite well.
I don't imagine it have the capability of being a good match.
Yeah, that's why I had to prefix it out by saying that Sasha and Charlotte have done their part of the bargain with no issues. Got no problem with them. It's how they've been booked and used. All in all, a good show. 2 title matches. A great video segment from Paul Heyman. Sami Zayn firing some words at Foley. That Cesaro Sheamus bit I actually really did like. And a cool car park brawl with Jericho and Rollins. It's worth a watch, easily. A very healthy worth a watch, which makes me quite happy to say, actually. So, a good Raw, Matt. Dare I say, a good Raw. And I did skip over a lot of stuff there, but it still is worth a watch for me. So go on, Matt, give us our Smackdown review, and then we can give our predictions afterwards.
Fair enough. Smackdown comes from the Colonial Life Arena in South Carolina. And this is the go-home show for TLC. I don't understand why. Every time they mentioned, they were like, this Sunday at TLC, tables, ladders, and chairs. Like, I know what TLC stands for.
Yeah.
But you don't have to say it every fucking time.
Considering it's been around, like, now this is a long-standing pay-per-view. It's been around for like 6 years or something, isn't it?
Yeah, or just the match concepts alone.
Yeah.
Anyway. We kick off with, even though we only had one not too long ago, a contract signing of Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss for the Women's Championship match, which Renee Young hosts until, Alexa just shoos her away.
Yeah.
We'll call you when we need bad fashion advice, was the line.
I do like Alexa. She's
It gets quite interesting. It's quite good. There's a lot of back and forth as they're just sort of, just dishing insults and things like that. Becky basically going like, oh, you reminded me of my cousin. She's blonde and obsessed with glitter. But she's 4. Like, what's your excuse? Which I quite like. Some of the insults were a bit weak, but hey-ho.
You see, I know just by general you are quite excited to see this match anyway, though, aren't you? Like the Alexa Bliss, like
yes, but it's getting much.
Yeah, because they already wrestled each other at Glasgow, didn't they?
Yeah, but it was at Glasgow that whilst Alexa Bliss did tap out, her foot was on the rope, but the ref didn't see it.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of sort of to and fro. I don't think I think it's gone on too long. I think it needs to either. I kind of want Bliss to lose because then they can just finally put a decisive pin in. Right, we're done with that.
Yeah, move on to something a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure you don't want them to change the belts over 5 times before you get there, though?
I'm good without that.
You're good without that? You sure?
I am.
Okay, fair
enough. It ended up turning into a scrap. There's obviously a table in the ring. Becky sets up Alexa on the top rope, almost going for a superplex into the table, but takes too long. Alexa rakes the eyes and shoves her off onto the table. So it was quite good.
Oh, they're having a tables match, are they?
Well, yes, but that wasn't announced until near the very end of the show. But yeah, they're having a tables match.
Fair enough.
So, as I mentioned earlier, we have the tag team match because, hey, we've got these 2 singles matches coming up. Why not? Mm-hmm. Kalisto and Ziggler versus Corbin and Miz. Yeah, it's not bad. It's, there's a lot of physicality in the ring. Miz is on the receiving end of quite a nice DDT to the outside. Super kicks being thrown and all this Miz at one point even pulls out a ladder because they're having a ladder match for the IC belt. Sets it up against sets up against the turnbuckle on the outside. Mm-hmm. And it sits there for a while. But it's pretty good. The ref's distracted, and while Ziggler's crawling around on the outside, just a bit dazed, Maurice pushes the ladder into Miz's face. Pushes the ladder into Ziggler's face, sorry.
Yeah.
Taking Ziggler out of the equation, whilst Kalisto lands the Salida del Sol on the Miz. And how else would Corbin break up a pin? With a chair.
Oh, okay.
DQ.
I'm actually looking. It's funny as you said that. I've just loaded up the match listing for the pay per view, and it's as you said that, I was like, oh, they're in a chairs match. Are you interviewing with the chair? Oh, wow,
they're in a chairs match.
Yeah.
There's backstage segments of American Alpha just going on about we need to prove ourselves and things like that. They're trash talking on the Wyatts, and then the Wyatts have a backstage promo saying how they're going in to sort of prove that they are a stronger team. There seems a bit of rivalry with within the Wyatt family between Harper and Orton. I think it might just be because Orton's Wyatt's new favorite.
Yeah.
Orton basically just goes, well, why don't you prove yourself and do what you need to do? And Wyatt just goes, Harper, send Kane back to hell. Because later on, it's Harper versus Kane.
Mm-hmm. Kane's been kind of mini feuding with them over all this time as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's it. I didn't watch this bit. Carmella has some strong words. She's going on about I want to publicly apologize to John Cena, and then I gave up. I'm like, okay. I've seen this shit. I am sick of Carmella and Nikki Bella.
It seems to be the same whole thing with it, though, isn't it? It's just, let's rag on the Nikki Bella, John Cena thing, which was fine for the first week, but it's kind of that's the only calling card going on here, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently she got beat up, Carmella. I saw a picture of her recently, and she got busted.
She had a black eye or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one thing I quite liked of what I saw. Carmella came to the ring to a lot of "How you doing?" chants. Mm-hmm. Her response was, "I'll be doing a lot better once I'm out of here."
At least that's at least he's thinking on their feet, though. That's good. So
yeah. She makes a joke about because apparently they've got a match at TLC. Woo! That she's going to disfigure Nikki's Bella twins. She's going to smack her in the chest so hard.
I thought she was going to say, "I'll do a." Who was it back in the day who ruptured one of their implants in a match? I think it was actually Mickey James, wasn't it? Who ruptured it? I could do a Mickey James on you.
Yeah. Like her apology to Cena is basically, I'm just going to disfigure your other half. I'm going to rearrange her face. I'm going to burst her breasts, and you won't have to worry about marrying her. Nikki comes out, attacks her. Cool.
I'd say, even though we've been ragging on it a bit, that does sound pretty fucking scathing, right?
And we have the Ambrose Asylum. The guest is Ellsworth. Oh man, do you know what? Now that he's apparently like a full-time superstar, he's like the fifth guy before the end of the opening video.
Oh, wait, so he's on the opening credits now, is he?
Yeah.
You're going to have to live to learn with him. He's around for now.
It's pretty boring, the Ambrose Asylum. AJ comes out, which is good. Styles vows that he's going to beat them both up at TLC and attacks. He shoves Ellsworth into Ambrose. Right. I'll carry on with this bit and then I'll get on to what is essentially my rant.
Okay.
So, AJ shoves Ellsworth into Ambrose. Ambrose falls into a ladder because obviously they've got chairs and ladders and all that lot set up because they've got a TLC match this weekend. So Ambrose gets rolled outside, and AJ like slides Ellsworth over the table, knocking over some chairs. He goes out and throws Ambrose against the ring steps and then drops the top ring step on top of him. Not like to pin him on the floor, but just like essentially just dropped it on him, just for some impact. And then he takes on Ellsworth, and he goes for fury. To the point he beats him up, he pounds him down, he throws him out of the ring, and it looked a bit botchy, and then I realised what happened, because Ellsworth was sort of out of the ring, but his feet were sort of on the bottom rope, holding him in place.
Yeah.
So he'd like, almost like a plank. Ambrose grabs a chair, not Ambrose, AJ grabs a chair and smashes it into the small of his back, which is good. And then he goes for a Styles Clash, but he changes his mind. Where he took the top steps off the, obviously the steps to the ring, he takes Ellsworth up there and jumps off of them to deliver a Styles Clash. It looked vicious.
Yeah.
So the fact that they even stretched him out and everything.
They've been building up to this kind of snapping for Styles for a while now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Swallow a lot, yeah.
It's quite good because you got Ellsworth, not Ellsworth. You've got Styles basically going about like, oh, this guy, he looks like a ventriloquist dummy and all things like that. But at least they're a bit tougher and they have a chin and all things like that. And Ambrose is just like, well, you've been beaten by a dummy 3 times then. But I digress. Ellsworth comes out and JBL is just going on about, oh, he looks like a turtle without a shell and all this and all that. How can he be a superstar? He's no good. Someone really should get rid of him. He looks like he skipped a step in the gene pool and all that lot. He's, he hasn't evolved like a regular human and all things like this. The moment this big Styles Clash happens, his tone completely changes. And he just like, I know, just no one deserves anything like that. Really? 5 minutes ago, you wished him dead. And now you're like, oh, yeah, well, I don't like him, but oh no, that was too much.
That comes across as a bit asinine. Back in the days when you had the King, right, and he would be like ragging on someone really badly, he would love it when you had someone like dishing out a beat.
Yeah, it's like this. I was just like, the fuck. It's like, oh, let's take this guy back. He needs to go back to the zoo. He where he belongs because he's not evolved like us men, like humans. He's nothing more than a like a spot in the evolutionary chain and things like that. Bah, 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 bah. Oh, but no, I was a bit uncalled for though.
It seems like either he had to taper back his
it looked bad.
Yeah.
Like it looked vicious. And there was one point I was like, don't do it because he's already nearly fucked up a Stars Clash already. Like obviously we all know that AJ has already saved Ellsworth's life.
Yeah.
And I can only just imagine, oh no, don't stick an extra couple of feet on that drop.
Yeah. What's the funny thing though with that though is that he comes across a little bit like an internet troll who didn't realize the validity of his words. So he's just talking tons of smack, and in the end he's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to say all that. I'm really
yeah. That's it. Oh man, it's just awful." But you get Ellsworth being stretchered out all the way to the all the way to an ambulance. Like Ambrose is with him, and he's just like, "I'm going to make this right. I'm going to make this right. We're going to get this fixed. We're going to get this fixed," sort of thing. Kane versus Luke Harper in quite an unexpectedly long match. I didn't expect this to go as long as it did, and it was solid. It was as physical as you expect, but it wasn't. It was what it was. Kane was no selling a bit, and I think they're trying to sell that he's, get over the fact that he's Demon Kane again. It took a while for him to finally, go to the ground.
Yeah. Sort
of really bumped for him, but it was solid. It was a good match. Kane wins with a choke slam. Hey ho. But obviously with the whole backstage moment beforehand where they're almost teasing that he's falling out of favor with Wyatt, I think it could be maybe a start of a Harper face turn where he gets sort of like banished from the family sort of thing.
He gets pushed out, and this is Orton's big plan all along sort of thing to break up the Wyatts from the inside.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
That it's all been part of his plan. We get a backstage segment. Renee Young is interviewing Becky Lynch, who's like out at the back in the trainer's room, icing her back. Apparently she's got a spinal bruise, but when it came down to Renee just like, cool, but are you going to be able to, defend? It's like, yeah. Like, I don't care if I've got to wear an ice pack for the rest of the week. I will be at TLC, and I'm going to teach that little bitch a lesson. I'm like, ooh, she said bitch.
Feisty,
I know. But at this point, they announced that Alexa has requested their match be a tables match. So we have a tables match, we have a ladder match, we have a chairs match, and the TLC, because, you have to. Main event. Orton and Bray Wyatt versus American Alpha. Number one contendership match to face Beauty and the Man Beast at TLC. A solid match. It's really good. They definitely did go with the whole, Orton's, what is he, like a 13-time champion? They definitely played up that he's the experienced of the ring.
Yeah. He's a veteran. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it was solid. But yeah, no, it was really good. I think there was some spots that they held back on, but so that kind of hindered it a bit. But it was a solid match, and it was good fun to watch because obviously I love watching American Alpha work. But it's good to see, Orton against more physical opponents. It gets a bit lazy when, he's fighting, when he's like wrestling people like Kane or Big Show and things like that. But when he's against guys who can go in a physical, like in an athletic manner, then it's good fun to watch.
They also they kind of force him to speed up a little bit, didn't they? As well.
Yeah. I mean, I quite like it. It's almost like Orton's dishing into almost like a darker side of his moveset though, because he had Jason Jordan set up, like almost like to go for like a suplex sort of thing. But when he sort of like, sometimes he takes their head under his arm, and he like swings them around to the ropes to do the DDT. No, He picked him up and just threw him onto the top rope. Didn't even guide him. You know, sometimes they do like, you know, this, what do they call it? I'm going to call it like a slingshot suplex sort of thing, where they just drop him on the ropes and then switch it out. The Revival do it. This wasn't it. He just like, up, onto the rope you go. And Jordan just sort of spills over, and it looks pretty good.
So he's being a bit more visceral.
Then we had Harper comes out to offer a distraction, causes a bit of a scramble that saws an attempt at the Grand Amplitude, spoiled by an RKO from Orton onto Gable, and at that point Wyatt escapes Jordan's clutches and hits him with a Sister Abigail for the pin. So yeah. Hey guys, I know you're a tag team, like a proper one, and you've been together for about a year now, and you know you're a really good tag team, and everyone really likes you. But you've got these two guys who like we just need to push them for a bit. Mind if
it feels
we
like
just
that's the whole deal?
Yeah, it's like, do you mind if you just like sit on a back burner for that lot? Like, I know the current champions aren't really a tag team, and like you're a proper tag team, and don't get me wrong, but look at these other guys who aren't really a tag team, and we kind of want to give them the belts. Do you mind?
I think that's the problem with American Alpha, though. That it seems like that's always the thing with them. It's like, okay, but we need to get the Usos over on their heel turn, guys, so we're going to let you lose this one. Or we need to get Heath Slater and Rhino as the champions, guys, so, you know, not quite yet. Or we need to get Wyatt and Orton, which I think can end up working. I don't disagree with that.
Oh, yeah. No, I know.
But these guys, we're kind of working with them at the moment, so can you just hold off and everything? You can only hold off on American Alpha so long before they end up becoming one of the other tag teams.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to be the Vaudevillains anytime soon, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, but they can't keep going on as they are at the moment. They are a special team, but...
Yeah. And then to close out the show, we have a backstage segment. Styles is he's in like an argument with Slater and Rhino. Ambrose makes his way back to the arena, storming around backstage trying to find Styles. And then Ambrose jumps him and starts beating him up as we go off the air.
Building up to their title match.
For an episode before a pay-per-view, solid.
Yeah? What rating would you give it?
Yeah, it's worth a watch, I suppose. I honestly couldn't think of... I'd say it's worth a watch. For one that is... for what's leading into a pay-per-view, I'd say it's worth a watch, but I wouldn't rush out to watch it. I don't think there's a particularly great match, particularly great matches to see. But you know.
Yeah. No, I get you. It's almost like mine, you know, like Raw was just a very solid show overall, but there wasn't any matches that blew me away. But that doesn't stop it of being a Raw worthy of watching.
Yeah.
So solid week overall. I don't think we've had an overall solid week for both shows as we have this week. But I tell you what, I will say though, having because we haven't been, you know, just because of circumstances and whatever, we haven't been watching our respective shows religiously over the last like 2 months or so. I think we missed like 2 episodes or something. Mm-hmm. It has helped. I have to say, it has helped overall. I think it's just the burnout does start to get pretty real as time goes on, but all in all, good stuff. So let's go through these predictions then, and then we have our douche nozzle award to give out, and then we're out of here. Let's go through these. So Matt, Heath Slater and Rhino versus the Wyatt family, being Bray and Randy Orton at this juncture. Tag team titles. Who do you see winning this one?
To be fair, I can imagine it going to Bray and Orton.
Yeah, that's where I see this going as well. I think what's funny about this, it would be Bray Wyatt's first piece of gold here in WWE. Never won a championship, so
that is very true.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I do. I believe that's where the titles are going. So fair play on that one. Kalisto and Baron Corbin. Who's winning this one? This is a chairs match.
Neither man can afford the loss. I don't really know.
I would immediately go Baron Corbin.
Yeah, to be fair.
But I wouldn't put it past WWE trying to throw in like a swerve, or maybe Kalisto Hurricane Rana's him into a chair or something like that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the one thing with the chairs matches is just the fact that, yeah, chairs are legal, but it's not like a tables match where it's like, you know, stick them through the table to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I imagine there's going to be some good spots, and I can imagine that Kalisto's capable of doing some things that are going to be impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, Corbin.
Yeah, that's how I see it. Okay, Nikki Bella versus Carmella. This has to be the last match of these guys.
I want it to be Nikki just to end it.
Yeah, I'm saying Nikki because I think Carmella's already had a couple of victories, so it makes sense that Nikki would pick this one up. So I'm going with her. That's a no disqualification match as well. So,
it is. I forgot.
The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler in a ladder match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. What do you reckon, Matt? Where's the title going?
I think Miz is going to retain.
Miz retain? Yeah, I'm going for a Miz retain as well. Probably with Maurice doing something. Cause
that's it.
Yeah.
Spirit Squad come back or something, you know.
Exactly. Ladder match means no DQ as well, so the odds just get to Ziggler. That's how I see it going. If they were planning on keeping Ziggler as the champion, they just wouldn't have had him lose before Survivor Series. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss, a tables match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This is another one that can go either way, couldn't it, really?
Yeah. The thing is, as much as I want this Becky and Alexa thing to be over, I also want Alexa to win.
You want her to win the title?
Yeah, I think she deserves a title. She hasn't had one.
Yeah, she didn't have. It's one of those things. Also, with Becky Lynch, she didn't get her moment until she won the SmackDown Women's Championship. She didn't have that in NXT. So
that's true.
Are you going? But who do you think is winning though? I know you want Alexa to win, but who do you think is going to win?
I'd go Alexa.
Yeah, I'm actually going Alexa as well. And the reason why I think that is because I don't think this rivalry is over. So I think that Alexa wins and then they have a rematch and then whatever happens from there on there. Or they could just keep training back the championship, as I said before, you know, because that's the new fucking thing with women, that they change the title 5 times. No, I'm not going to get to that. Anyway, main event. AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, TLC match. World Championship.
Ellsworth's going to get involved.
I don't see Ambrose winning the title though. I know I haven't been watching the show, but I think Styles retains.
I think Styles will retain, but I think Ellsworth will get involved, and I think actually Ellsworth will cost Ambrose the belt.
Well, inadvertently cost him, yeah.
Inadvertently cost him, yeah.
Yeah. I like the idea. I've always said the idea that I'd like the idea of them playing with the thought of having Ellsworth not. When I say turn heel, but turn heel because he's scared that Styles will get to him again or something. He's that cowardly, you know?
Yeah.
That he always wants to appease Styles, and then he ends up becoming Styles' like abuse buddy, you know, that he can abuse and tell him to do shit all the time.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but I get you, Matt. I reckon Ellsworth's going to try and get involved, and it's not going to end well for Ambrose.
No,
I don't think he's going to become champion, because I think WWE are high on Styles, and they learned that Ambrose's title run was not very good at all.
Joe's coming soon.
I know. Maybe he'll get involved. Who knows? Maybe he after the match with Styles celebrating, Joe comes out, chokes him out. You know, that's a world title feud right there. Who knows?
That's it.
You like the sound of that, didn't you?
I want it so bad.
Styles celebrating 1 minute, the next minute he's in a pool of his own saliva, doesn't know where he is, and Joe's standing with the title in his hand. Yeah, you love it. All right then, Matt. So then all we've got left then is the Douche Nozzle Award of the week. This week I award it to Gabe Sapolsky. Oh, yes. Now, I know this may make some people very angry already because he's quite well liked on the wrestling circles. I mean, Daniel Bryan swears by him. And I don't particularly like putting Gabe up here, but when you do something like you did this week that contradicts what I ranted about, then you've got a pretty good chance of being up on this award. He tweeted this week comments about the women's division on Raw and that feud. He basically said that, they're fantastic and this is going to be a feud that will change wrestling forever. And the fans, they should absolutely love it and stuff like this. And I'm like, no comment captured the shameless WWE love that he has at the moment. Like, he just shells out tons of like corporate crap through his Twitter account. It's actually getting a little bit sickening now, to be honest. It doesn't matter if Gabe thinks that this feud is groundbreaking. Like I said, the rest of us are frustrated by it, and that's how it will be remembered. So he gets the award for being the Douche Nozzle Award for the week for being a little bit of a corporate sellout. So, Gabe Sapolsky, there you are. You are the second winner of this. You can go and have a nice dinner with Linda McMahon. You can cry yourselves to sleep. I don't know how you deal with this or anything along those lines, but who am I kidding? They'll probably never hear about it. But that way, we don't get any angry people tweeting us, so that's the way it goes. Anyway, that's the show this week. If you'd like to interact with us, the main way of doing so is our Facebook page, facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. You can also send a tweet to our Twitter handle, which is
@TalkWrestlePod.
And, of course, you can send us any private messages or audio questions to Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast @gmail.com. All of that is in the graphics or in the description below. Leave a question if you like. More importantly, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, because I've heard, Matt, that unless you want to end up on the Douche Nozzle of the Week award, if you hit like, that automatically gives you a pass for the week. So I would say that people need to start hitting that subscribe button just to make sure they don't end up as the Douche Nozzle for the week. At the end of the day, it might not be you, but who am I to say that you should risk it by not clicking it? I say you click that subscribe button, and that way you can get that shit done. Apart from that, I hope you guys have a great week. Hope you enjoyed the show. It's been good doing a regular format. It's been a busy couple of weeks for us. Hope you have a great time. It is the Christmas season. Go do all your shopping. Make sure you get it done early before all of the crowds end up swallowing you whole. That's all I have to say about that. All right, then, Matt, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this shit up?
Nothing else to do.
All right, then, guys. Hope you have a great week. We'll catch you next time.
Catch you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.